our today's Srimad Bhagavatam reading. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Yesterday we finished chapter 4. It was about Vyasadev's dissatisfaction. I just wanted to show some pictures of Vyasadev. See, this is a picture of him here, an ascetic. You see, he has a blue complexion. The skin is bluish because he's Krishna, right? He's the incarnation of Krishna. And he's sitting here with a dissatisfied face. And here is Narada coming. So that's where we stopped yesterday. And I just wanted to take a moment to contemplate on Vyasadeva. You know, he was an amazing personality on so many different levels. And then I found this, this we can read. Just as Vyasadeva is feeling despondent, Narad Muni, Vyasadev's spiritual master, arrives on the scene, allowing Vyasadeva the opportunity to reveal his heart and thus get a remedy for his despondency. This is first set of inquiries by Shanaka. Srila Vyasadeva, who already compiled all the Vedic literatures, including the Mahabharata, therefore, what would inspire him to go through all the trouble of compiling another vast literature, the Srimad Bhagavatam? No? We studied all this. Shanaka is inquiring about this as well. Shanaka's eagerness to hear Bhagavatam has increased due to its being as brilliant as the sun, which is the name of the book we are reading, bestowing knowledge on those in the darkness of Kali Yuga. Shanaka recognized Krishna Katha as the medicine to cure the ills of Kali Yuga. He probes deeper, asking Sutta about the Bhagavatam's history. So yesterday's chapter was very, very relevant for us in terms of understanding our parampara, our sampradaya, the cultural heritage, the spiritual mysticism and the potency. This comes later. This is when he wanted to write all the Vedas and Mahabharata, Vyasadeva, and Ganesh appears because there's nobody else who can match Vyasadev's speed of dictating. So he needed a scribe. So here we see that Ganesh became the scribe of Vyasadeva. He wrote everything Vyasadeva was describing, including Mahabharata and all the Vedas. There are many pictures. And this is Vyasadeva with Madhvacharya, because Madhvacharya is the disciple of Vyasadeva. And by the way, as we are talking right now, these two devotees, these two amazing, what to say, merciful incarnations of divine, they're sitting in Himalayas. Both of them are still alive and they're still discussing Bhagavatam. That is how glorified Bhagavatam is. So Vyasadeva is in the cave in Himalayas, and Madhvacharya is there, still learning from Vyasadeva and discussing Bhagavatam. So, this cultural heritage of who we are connected to is just inconceivable, incomparable. One of my teachers, Savitri Mataji, she often says, we have this problem of inferiority or insecurity and all that, right? All that nonsense, right? So she often says that there's a huge difference between feeling humble, that humility aspect, and then the aspect of recognizing, come on, you're connected to this lineage of all these great personalities. Brahma, Narada, Vyasadeva, Madhvacharya, Srila Prabhupada. There is no reason to feel insecure, inferior, when we connect our significance to them. See, that's the point. Without them, we're just zeros with no number. But with them, we become valuable. And we are supposed to be proud. We're supposed to feel super security because we are in touch with these great personalities. So Vyasadeva is like, oof, such an amazing personality. He's the father of Shukadeva Goswami. And I mean, there's many like this, some snippets before reading or during we can discuss, which gives us that emotional strength and flavor. This Bhagavatam is not impersonal, or it's okay, some literature is not a religious thing, as we read yesterday in the verse about no, it's not. It's what's that verse? Atra vastu shivadam tapatrayon mulam. It's not a religious text, or it's not a religious thing at all. It's actually completely rejecting all religious ideas. Okay. So today we're going to start chapter 5. There is so much to feel proud. There's so much to feel grateful to be part of this sampradaya. And today we're going to study what happened. What happened after Narad Muni arrives there, right? Oh my God, imagine, you're despondent, and then finally the saving grace arrives. So what does Narad Muni say? So today we're going to study that, okay? Maybe I'll start for a while, and then we can have volunteers to take over and read for at least 5 minutes each of us. Chapter 5, Instructions by the Great Sage Narada. I'm sorry, I can't resist. There is this song, Tamburi Meetidava, Bhavabdi Datidava, Tamburi Meetidava, Bhavabdi Datidava, Talava Tattidava. Talava Tattidava, Surarolu Seridava. This is a song about Narad Muni. He holds the tambura, right? With his tambura, he's always singing. He's always engaged in glorifying the Lord, traveling around, wanting to always be absorbed, engaging his tongue, engaging his mind, chanting the holy names. And he is transcending this worldly sattva, rajas, tamas, all the worldly emotions. And his emotions are always well placed in spiritual transcendental realm. So that personality has arrived here. So let's listen with rapt attention what's happening. Narada points out the failings in Vyasadev's plans to alleviate the sufferings he saw in his vision. He encourages Vyasadeva to write Srimad Bhagavatam. In order to demonstrate the power of these teachings, he relates the history of his past birth, in which he first heard Srimad Bhagavatam. Smiling, Narada replied, I divined your discontent, and so I came to you. Filled with gratitude, Vyasadeva confided in his spiritual master. He told Narada about his visions and of the efforts he had made to help people in Kali Yuga. He also spoke of his dissatisfaction. Narada congratulated him on his accomplishments. You have prepared fine works, including the Mahabharata, which is replete with Vedic knowledge. By studying your scholarly compositions, people will learn the best means to attain worldly happiness and liberation. Why then are you unhappy? Sitting before his teacher, Vyasadeva said, Master, what you say is correct. I worked hard, but despite this, I am not peaceful. Please tell me the root cause of my discontent. As Lord Brahma's son, you're a man of unlimited knowledge. You are an exalted devotee of Krishna and can travel anywhere in the universe and beyond. You know the inner heart and feelings of all beings, just like the Supersoul. Please, therefore, help me understand my fault and instruct me how to satisfy the Lord. A gentle breeze carried the fragrance of tree blossoms, and peacocks uttered their melodic cries as the two great sages spoke together. Pleased with Vyasadeva's humility, Narada said, although you have fully explained the four great aims of life, religious duty, economic development, sense pleasure, and liberation, these pertaining to the body and mind, and cannot satisfy the soul. You have not described Krishna's pure and transcendental glories, which alone can make people happy. Any literature bereft of such descriptions is useless. Vyasadeva bowed his head in acquiescence. This is what he had suspected. Narada had immediately identified the problem. Write a literature that only glorifies the name, fame, forms, pastimes, qualities, and associates of the unlimited Supreme Lord, said Narada. Superior to all other Vedas, this will have the potency to transform the impious lives of this world's misdirected civilization. My dear disciple, glorification of the Lord is so powerful that even if imperfectly composed, it will still be appreciated by great scholars who are thoroughly honest. Vyasadeva's eyes widened. Normally, if there were grammatical errors in a work, it would be rejected by the scholars. What though of ordinary men? He said, I doubt that sinful persons will be interested to hear about Krishna. Do they not need to learn piety before they can become amenable to Krishna's service? Narada shook his head. Even if you teach people how to satisfy their material desires religiously, they will still suffer. The only time work in this world does not cause misery is when its fruits is offered for Krishna's pleasure. Vyasadeva nodded. This was true. No matter how materially prosperous a person becomes, he will not be satisfied. What though of liberation? He asked, should I not teach them how to attain salvation before instructing them in devotional topics? Narada replied, if they do not awaken their attraction to Krishna and engage in his loving service, even if they become liberated, they will again fall down to material enjoyment. Vyasadeva raised a hand to his chin. Narada was right. The soul is pleasure-seeking. As long as one does not experience the unlimited joy of loving exchanges with Krishna, he will again seek happiness in material pursuits. Vyasadeva accepted that he needed to clearly present Krishna's pastimes. This would be a challenge, as they were deeply esoteric and easily misunderstood. Seeing the anxiety on his disciple's face, Narada encouraged him. You are a man of impeccable character and firm determination. You're also completely truthful. Therefore, meditate on Krishna, and he will reveal to you those pastimes of his which you should describe. Vyasadeva pressed his lips together. Would materialists have the patience or inclination to read a book exclusively about Krishna's pastimes? He said, I wrote the Mahabharata and other works so people could hear Krishna's glories. But I first presented material happiness to draw them in. Is this not required for worldly minded people? Worldly minded men? Okay, if somebody else likes to take over.
Narada waved a hand. You have committed a serious mistake. This is surely condemned. People are already inclined to sense gratification. By instructing them how to enjoy piously, they will think you are endorsing material enjoyment and will soon neglect the prohibitions. Thus, even while trying to help them, you only render them a great harm. You must write a literature that directly glorifies Krishna. Anything other than this will simply agitate the mind as the wind tosses a boat on a lake. Who in this dark age will read a book that only glorifies God? Narada said. In Kali Yuga, there will still be discerning people who will appreciate how only devotion to the Supreme Lord can satisfy us. They will benefit from your book and encourage and help others to follow their example. Surely, even they require training in the social and moral principles governing material life, said Vasudeva. Otherwise, they are likely to commit sins which will impede their advancement in devotional service to Krishna. Not so, replied Narada. If a person worships Krishna, he may sometimes inadvertently act in a socially or morally inappropriate manner, but there is no danger for him. By Krishna's grace, he'll rectify himself and attain spiritual success. On the other hand, even if one meticulously performs all social and moral duties without worshipping the Lord, he gains no lasting benefit. People have material needs whilst in this world, said Vasudeva. They have desires for family, society, friendship, and love. Do they not need to be shown how to properly satisfy these desires as well? Intelligent and thoughtful persons know that even if they achieve heavenly pleasures, they will not be happy. Thus, they strive only for divine love, knowing this alone can satisfy the heart. Seeing Vasudeva still uncertain, Narada said, just as material misery comes unsought, so does material happiness. It cannot be changed. We only enjoy or suffer in this life according to the destiny we have created in previous lives. Therefore, better to use this life to attain eternal and lasting happiness in Krishna's association. That is another of my concern, said Vasudeva. What if they do not succeed in returning to Krishna in one life, but instead have to take another birth? Should I not therefore teach them how to accumulate piety so that in their next life they are well situated? My dear Vasudeva, even though Krishna's devotee sometimes takes birth again, he does not undergo material existence like others. By Krishna's grace, he will return to devotional service, eager to again experience its sweet taste, which he can never forget. Vasudeva folded his palms together and said, Thank you, Master. I have no more qualms. I will do as you instruct. Please tell me what I should include in this work. Narada said, as well as the process of bhakti, you should describe Krishna's unlimited glories. Help your readers understand that Krishna is himself the creation, while remaining aloof from it in his original personal form. Describe the Gunavataras, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, through whom he creates, maintains, and destroys everything. He laughed. You know all this, for you are the Lord's empowered incarnation. You are thus qualified to present his pastimes for the good of all. Please, therefore, describe vividly Krishna's divine activities in the form of Srimad Bhagavatam. Vasudeva's face brightened. This was what he had so far omitted. What was the value in teaching people how to fulfill their material desires? He must simply focus on describing Krishna's glories and encourage everyone to take up his devotional service for their ultimate good. Narada continued, whatever one hopes to achieve by executing any other work will be accomplished by worshipping Krishna. Indeed, all one's worldly activities should be engaged to spread Krishna's glories. Thus they will become devotional service and will be fully successful. Should I continue? Or anyone wants to read?
Yes, I can read. Master and disciple sat quietly for a moment. Vyasadeva looked across the gleaming water of the Saraswati. He would need to first petition the Lord's grace to guide his intelligence. As he sat in thought, he heard Narada chuckle and looked at him curiously. I was recalling my previous life, Narada said. I had an unfortunate birth, but because I heard the Bhagavatam from four liberated saints, I achieved spiritual perfection. This is why I am urging you to write these same teaching to benefit the unfortunate souls. Vyasadeva humbly asked his spiritual master to relate the history of his past birth. In a previous day of Lord Brahma, said Narada, I was son of a maidservant. Listen as I recount my story. 5, uh, uh, 2339, mother, the small child called plaintively, I'm hungry. His thin, poorly dressed mother looked at him with tears prickling her eyes. How unfortunate he was to have been born to a meat servant. Her master was a Brahman to whose school many respectable families sent their children. These children were always well fed and clothed and spent their time in studying or leisure. Her poor child was obliged to work all day, looking tenderly at her scrawny boy. Her tear ran down her cheeks. Are you hurt, mother? Shall I help you? She laughed at his innocence. I'm also hungry, child. Let us quickly finish cleaning and then we can eat together. She gave her son a hand broom and begin herself polishing brassware. When the chores were done, she took the food which had been left and prepared two plates. Come, child, she said, taking her son's small hand. Let us eat. They had barely finished their meal when her master arrived. She stood up quickly as a kindly looking Brahman entered the room. Sit down, he said. Finish your meal. Thank you, sir, but I finished now. How may I serve you? Four traveling ascetics have arrived here now. I have invited them to stay here during the rainy season. Would you like to serve them this year? He always gave the servants a chance to attend holy man who arrived in this another way. He tried to help them attain a better destiny in their future life. The woman folded her palms and thanked him. I would be honored for such an opportunity. Very well, but remember they are monks, he said. They do not like to be too close to women. You can get your son directly to serve their meals while you cook and clean. For the next 4 months, the child waited upon the four elderly Brahmins. After serving their food, he would sit nearby, waiting on them as they ate and would thereby hear their conversations. The ascetics took a liking to the boy. He's very sober for such a young child, one remarked. Another asked him, what do you like to play, boy? I do not play, sir, replied the child. I help my mother with her work. And after a pause, he added, I do enjoy listening to your stories. The men all laughed. Well, boy, said one of them, if you like, you can sit with us whenever we talk. Then we can hear one of our stories. Then you can hear one of our stories. I would like that very much, sir. You must not interrupt or make a noise. One this it is. No, sir, I promise to be good. From that day, if the boy was ever absent when the saint were talking, they would ask his master, where is the lad? Please send him here. Seeing the attachment the holy man had for the child, master told his mother to excuse him from any other course. He should remain with them as much as possible. They seemed to like they seem to like.
Thank you, Shreya. I'll do the last bit. He should remain with them as much as possible. They seem to like him, he said, patting the boy's head. On one occasion, as the ascetic spoke, one of them mentioned that to eat the remnants of saints brings about great fortune. Hearing this, the boy wondered if he could receive any of their food. He would have to ask them for a portion, as they only ate small amounts and never left anything on their plates. That afternoon, after serving their meal, he got up his courage and meekly said, "This morning you explained that it brings great fortune to eat the food left by saintly persons." "Yes," replied the ascetics, surprised that he had been listening so attentively. Blushing, the boy asked, "May I eat some of your remnants?" The four saints' hearts melted on seeing the child's simple faith. "Yes, boy," they replied, "we will give you some. But we can only do it once, as really it is against our regulative principles." The boy held out his right hand, and they each placed a morsel of food in it. As he placed their remnants in his mouth, he felt a deep peace pervade his heart. His eagerness to learn from the saints intensified. He continued to listen attentively to all their discourses, because they told him it is good to repeat what he had heard. In the evenings, he would explain everything to his tired and sleepy mother. Gradually, his taste for hearing increased until his mind was absorbed in their teachings. They trained him in their other spiritual practices, such as chanting Krishna's holy names and worshipping his form. He slowly became free of material contamination, and in due course realized that he was not actually a poor boy. He was a spiritual being, a fragmental part of the Lord, qualitatively the same as him. During the 4 months they stayed at the Brahmin's school, the saints instructed him in all the confidential truths of Bhakti Yoga, known as the Srimad Bhagavatam. "How will I continue with my devotional service when you have left?" the boy inquired. "I will be obliged to again serve and associate with materialistic men, and I may fall from the path of pure devotion." The ascetics instructed him to do his duties as an offering for Krishna's pleasure. In that consciousness, your work will become devotional service to the Lord, and you will never again fall into ignorance or be entangled by the reactions of work. Oh, holy ones, how can I offer my work to the Lord? While doing your chores, which you should see as your God-given duty, simultaneously remember Krishna by meditating either on his name, activities, instructions, or qualities. In this way, the same work which binds one to material existence becomes the cause of liberation, and your transcendental knowledge will increase. Initiating him into a sacred mantra, the ascetics taught the boy how he could mentally worship the Lord's form. "Dear child, always meditate on this mantra. I offer respect to Lord Krishna along with his plenary expansions, Vasudeva, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, and Sankarshana." The boy diligently followed their instructions, confident that he would soon achieve spiritual perfection. Jai. Narada Muni ki jai. So we end the reading for today and meditating on this beautiful point that we are not this body. We are not permanently stuck to the situations, to these relationships which are binding us. And to connect with our parampara, with our sampradaya, how each of these great acharyas, great devotees, including Narada, they all had their past. There's an expression, every saint has a past, and every sinner a future. Today, I also want to introduce like a short meditation, like whatever we read, we will create like right now, I'll like 2 minutes, summarize the significance of what we read today. And then at the end, we can all form our affirmation. What qualities would we like to pray to Krishna for? Let's take a deep breath and absorb this transcendental knowledge that we just got in touch with. To be born in this material world and to be conditioned with this material body, it's both a blessing and a curse. It's a curse because we have to go through birth, death, old age, disease, disappointments, all the anarthas that torment us, the unending desires, and so on. It's a benediction to have a human form of life. ಈ ಸುಖಾಯಂಗಳ ಕಳೆದು 84 ಲಕ್ಷ ಜೀವರಾಶಿಯನ್ನು ದಾಟಿ ಬಂದ ಈ ಶರೀರ. 84 lakhs species we have gone through, being born as birds, cats, dogs, who knows what kinds of animals. Finally, we've got this precious human form of life. And yes, as Narad Muni was saying, human beings have desires, have needs. And as Vyasadeva considered and started giving out in the Srimad Mahabharata, the ways in which we can religiously live and fulfill the desires of the mind and fulfill some sensual pleasures. But this is not the solution. No matter how much we sort out the problem that we are facing now in our lives, tomorrow will be another disappointment. The day after will be another crisis. What we need to work on is on our mind. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, Narad Muni says how we create our future because of the way the state of mind is. So if we can work on our mind, if we can train our mind, we can change our future. Otherwise, we get stuck in this wheel, this hamster wheel of life and death, desires and frustrations and expectations, and next life come back and repay to the same people that we didn't do our duties with, and then feel disappointed that these are not doing the duty towards us. So no matter how much we work on dharma, artha, kama, moksha, no matter how much we do our duties perfectly, no matter how much we learn how to play this game of life in a safe way and try to enjoy, it's never going to bring us that sense of fulfillment, that sense of purpose, and that love and connection that we are hankering as souls. We will always settle for crumbs in this world. We will always look for substitutes to fill that void in our heart. And that void can only be filled with honest, deep, and sincere relationship with Krishna. So this Srimad Bhagavatam is teaching us that, which no other scripture, no other literature, no other religion is capable to deliver this information. That faith in the Lord, dependence on the Lord, attachment to the Lord, connection to the Lord is the and the only cure, the only solution, and the only path of happiness. So no matter what we're going through, we just approach the Lord. We hand over our emotions to the Lord. We hand over our problems to the Lord. That's bhakti. That's the perfection of life. We don't need to do anything. We just need to go to the sweet Lord who's waiting for us at the door so we can take his help. So with that thought of taking the Lord as our dearest friend, of allowing the Lord to take charge of our lives, let us surrender our lives in his care and ask him to forgive us, to empower us, and to give us the strength to do his will. Just as Narada developed the taste to hear Srimad Bhagavatam, may we develop that taste to hear the glories of the Lord, to chant the holy names of the Lord, and to desire to be always in the association of devotees. Take a deep breath. Let's feel this mercy of being connected to Srimad Bhagavatam, such a great fortune. Thank you, my dear Lord, for everything you've given us, the knowledge, the right people, and the desire to hear your holy names and your pastimes. May we be blessed with the strength to please you. May we be inspired by Srila Vyasadeva, Srila Narad Muni, Shukadev Goswami, Parikshit Maharaj, and all other great devotees. Give us the strength to walk in their path. Om Tat Sat. Jai. Hare Krishna. So if you like to set your intention, we can do that now privately.